Hey, good morning, everyone. It was great seeing you all in our Zoom yesterday, and I'm really excited to start this new concept where we're going to be writing the equation of a line that represents some data. And that data is not going to always look really pretty to us. It's not going to be this nice, long, straight row of data. It might be a little bit like it looks disorganized. And we're going to be using a type of graph we've used before, sometimes in other science classes, sometimes within this one, or you might have done this in other classes or other years, called a scatter plot. And so the thing about a scatter plot is that it takes a lot of information and just puts it on a graph. And you're looking for some kind of relationship that might exist with all of these data points. So one thing I want you to put into your scatterplot note page, and hopefully you have your scatterplot note page out. It looks just like this one. We're going to do a little bit of notes today. One thing I want you to remember about a scatterplot is that scatterplots have lots of dots. All right, so we're going to write that up there, right in the top of this page. Scatterplots have lots of dots, and go ahead and write that in. And those dots are merely ordered pairs. All right, you're going to take ordered pairs like what we have over here in this chart, and we're going to plot them onto our coordinate plane. All right, so if you're doing this, you're welcome to make your scatter plot notes as colorful and creative as possible, but we just want to make sure that we know scatter plots have lots of dots. Okay, so here's what we are graphing today. You see all this data? There are some clues about what we're graphing, but they didn't tell us. We have to actually write it on here. And if you'll see, there's some mugs down here at the bottom. We have over here in the graph, in the X column, you're going to see that it says age, and in the Y column it says teaspoons of sugar per cup. So we're starting to get an idea of what we might be looking at here in terms of data points. And that is that we are graphing the amount of sugar that one might put into a cup of tea, or maybe into a hot chocolate, or maybe into a coffee. So it's the amount of sugar that's going into our nice warm beverage. So every graph needs a title. And so we're going to write that up here. So this is the amount of sugar. All right, so it's right at the top, the amount of sugar, and that's going to be the amount of sugar that goes in their cups of whatever they're drinking. All right, so fill that in on yours. Apologies for my handwriting here. All right, but the amount of sugar that goes into their cups, that's the title of this graph. And we also need to now label our axes. So you remember that the x-axis, the horizontal axis, is our independent variable. Very often these are things like time, and we've talked about this before. So our independent variable, our x coordinate over here, is the age. And age is measured in years here. And we're going to label our axes over here. You can make yours look much neater than mine. Writing on the computer screen, I'm going to be honest, makes it a little bit messy. All right, but the age in years is going to be on the x-axis. And then on the y-axis, we look at our label for the y-axis, and that's teaspoons of sugar. So we're going to write the amount of sugar. And, sorry again, the amount of sugar. And it's being measured in teaspoons. So go ahead and write that on yours, and I apologize for my handwriting there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start graphing some points. I'm going to use a different color just so we can know what we're doing here. Again, you can make your page as colorful as you'd like. So our first coordinate says that somebody who's 7 years old uses 1.2 teaspoons of sugar per cup. So we need to look onto our graph here and look for the order point, or the order pair 7 and 1.2. You'll notice that on the y-axis, the intervals there look to be 0.1. So it's counting by 0.1 teaspoon each time, a tenth of a teaspoon each time. And obviously on the x-axis, we're doing it by years, but they're 5-year increments. So it's going to kind of make it so that our graphs might not be looking completely exact. We're just going to do the best we can. All right, so we need 7, which is between 5 and 10, down here on the x-axis, and then 1.2. So we have 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. So it's not going to be an exact science, but it's right about here. And like I said, my writing is not going to be the best, and yours might not either. But right about there is going to be about 7 and 1.2. Now we need to graph 15 and 1. So someone who's about your age, close, puts in 1 teaspoon. And does this mean every person's like this? No. This is just some data points that they graphed, or that they collected and that we're graphing. All right, so you've got 15 and 1. And apologies that my circles look a little bit like lines. All right, somebody who's 35 put only 3/10 of a teaspoon. So we go to 30 and 5, and we look for 3/10. Remember, these are counting by tenths on the y-axis, so we just need to count up 3. So we've got 35 and 1, 2, 3 tenths. It's right about here. And my stylus is like huge, so we'll do the best we can. All right, 18 and 8/10. So here's 20. Go back a little bit from 20, and then up 8/10. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8. Right about here. Make a dot. All right, this is kind of like in class when I was like, make a bigger dot. All right, and then somebody else who was 18, and they used only 6/10 of a teaspoon, so they were down a little bit. Okay, let's get a little bigger dot. We've got 29 and 6/10. That's almost 30, and right on the same horizontal line. Okay, 44 and 7/10, right about here. Apologies if it's not exact, guys. And then we've got 53 and no sugar. This person likes it bitter. I will never be this person, so that's okay. All right, so 53 and, unless maybe they're using the counting a sweetener. I wonder if that's what it is. Anyway, all right, 51 and 5/10. So let's see, 51 and 5/10 would be right. They're using about half a teaspoon of sugar. And right about there. Oh, that's a little bit off. Oh well. Okay, so we're trying to now look at this and determine, is there a correlation between the age of a person and the amount of sugar they might enjoy in a warm beverage? And if I'm looking at this, I notice that my dots, my points here, are kind of going down in a kind of an organized fashion. So it does appear there's a correlation there. We're looking at this correlation in terms of slope. Is it a positive correlation, which would then show a positive slope? Is it a negative correlation, and that would be a negative slope? Or is there no correlation whatsoever? They're all over the place, and we can't really find a line that could kind of fit in between all of those points. So when you look at this, you're looking at all these dots and you're saying, do they all kind of go down from left to right? Do they all kind of go up from left to right? Or are they scattered everywhere and there's nothing that I can see here that shows that they work together? So over here in your arrows, I want you to write in positive, because positive correlation means that it goes up from left to right. And then we have negative down here because they're going down from left to right. There does seem to be a correlation, but it's decreasing over time. Or is there absolutely no correlation? They're just all over the place, and there is no way for you to say, yeah, over time this seems to be a trend, or over time, it's the opposite trend. In this case, there's just no way to even say that over time more people, younger people prefer more sugar than older people, perhaps, or the vice versa. If they're all scattered everywhere, there's no way to say that. In this case, there does appear to be a trend. And if you look at it, what would you say the trend is? This is where you're all saying out loud, negative. Yes, over time, it would appear to me that there is a trend that shows that over time, the older you get, the less sugar you put into your warm beverage. And there could be many reasons for that. When we're younger, we just enjoy things that are sweeter. When we're older, maybe we understand that those sugary things aren't so healthy for us, and so we don't have it. Or maybe we're not allowed to have it anymore because we've developed a condition where sugar's not so good for us. So it does appear that over time, there is a trend that is negative, meaning like it's going down from left to right. And I'm going to draw a little line in here. This is called a line of best fit. And a line of best fit kind of goes in the middle of all the data. And you can use it as a prediction, a line that kind of predicts what you might expect would happen. And you want it to fit sort of in the middle of your data. So you might have a point or two that that fits right on the line, but generally speaking, the line of best fit sort of fits in between all of the data. And I might have angled mine just a little bit too much up looking at this. I have a lot of data points on the bottom of the graph and only like 2 on the other side. It's kind of in the middle. I might have been a little off, but that's okay. So your line of best fit fits through the center of the data there and sort of shows, generally speaking, what you might expect. So if you look at your line of best fit, maybe somebody who's 40, go over to 40, might like about half a teaspoon, 0.5 sugar in their warm beverage. Or you might give a guess, somebody who's 30, go up to your line of best fit on that green line. They're probably around 7/10 of a teaspoon. And maybe somebody who's closer to, say, 60, if you go over to, and then go up to the green line, maybe they're only putting in like 1/10 of a teaspoon. Maybe the doctors told them sugar's not so good for them anymore, and so they're not adding that to their beverages, and they're not having as much sugar. So that's sort of what we have here. We have a scatter plot just takes all this data and looks for trends. And I'm going to see if I can move this up a little bit and do the notes at the bottom of the page. So apologies, it's going to show, I'm going to have to erase some things here so I can show the whole page of notes. Okay, so we're going to fill in some pieces here now. Oh, that erases everything. Look at that. That's fantastic. Oh, I hate that. Okay. So down at the bottom here where it says trend line or line of best fit, we're going to write in the word fit there. Okay, so I want you to write fit down here in your box. And get that pen back. Oh, this is just a great little thing. I thought this was going to be so exciting. All right, so you have line of best fit. You're going to write that in on your page. And you're going to write in these words where it had like a little sentence. So it says use a ruler. I don't have a ruler, I just use a nice little line here, to draw a trend line that overlays the graph with the same number of dots, or points, it should really say points, on each side. And I got close to that. All right, so what type of correlation did we see in this graph above? We saw a negative correlation. Over time, the amount of sugar used was going down. And it says what would most likely expect for a 38-year-old. If you went back to your graph, mine doesn't work there anymore, and went up to that green line, it's going to be closer to 0.2, 0.5, or 1.1. If you look at it and you went up, it should be closer to 0.5 teaspoons. And we said around 40, right? It was about 0.5, so that's what we're looking for here. It would be closer to this one for a 38-year-old on our green line that we graphed before. All right, and then what type of correlation would you expect between two variables? Explain why. So let's say you are trying, this is number 3 now on your page, the number of minutes taken to deliver a pizza and the number of stars given for a customer service rating. So the longer it takes to deliver a pizza, are people going to be more or less satisfied? What correlation might you expect there? I want you to write in your answer onto your note sheet at your guess, and we'll talk about this at our next Zoom, what we might expect the answer to be. But I'm almost out of time on my Screencast-O-Matic here, so I'm going to have to say goodbye for today. And your only thing for today is just to work on these notes. And I'm going to put another video up about scatter plots just so you can get some more information about that. But completing these notes today is going to be your assignment. I miss you guys so much, and I'm so sad I'm not going to get to see you in class for the rest of this year, but I'm looking forward to next year. All right, take care. Bye-bye.